to warnings about what AI and ChatGPT may rot on our world, or climate change and how it's affecting Belize right now. These are hard things to grapple with, but then we also try to bring you moments of joy. One of my favorite things that we do is Amy Pearl's stories about good things happening around New York, if you've ever heard one of those. Or, New York Now, the new podcast. So we're bringing you as much goodness as we can, along with the things that can be a little stressy. But it's all part of bringing you the news that you need to know, that you want to know. And that's why we need your support. 888-376-9692. We're in the last final half hour of our match, 1-to-1 match. You make the donation. It gets doubled for us, and that is a terrific way to support your local public radio station. 888-376-9692.
Thank you so much. If you've given already, if you plan on giving, stay with us. Marketplace is next. More All Things Considered at 7 o'clock.
WNYC supporters include New Jersey Symphony, presenting Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back in concert. The symphony plays John Williams' score live while the film is projected on screen. May 18th to the 21st in 4 New Jersey venues. Tickets at njsymphony.org.
This is WNYC 93.9 FM and AM 820. NPR News and the New York Conversation.
Marketplace is supported by Progressive Insurance. The Name Your Price tool provides a range of coverage options. Progressive.com. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
2 words to start us off today: how and zing. Housing in this economy. From American Public Media, this is Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by SlashNext, generative human AI security that stops business email compromise and mobile phishing scams. Businesses can compare SlashNext with their current solutions for 30 days at slashnext.com. And by VBrick. VBrick unlocks the power of video for customers' business processes. VBrick.com/marketplace to learn more. And by Extend, turning credit cards into spend management tools so businesses can control payments with virtual cards. More at paywithextend.com.
In Los Angeles, I'm Kai Riznall. It is Wednesday today, the 17th of May. Good as always to have you along, everybody. You, I'm sure as well as I could, can tick off on your fingers the economic currents running against real estate right now. We list them all the time. Rising mortgage rates, still high home prices, low inventories, and a whole crop of current owners not motivated to sell and thus give up their not 7% mortgages. So this morning's news from the Commerce Department is worth a couple of minutes, we believe. Housing starts, that is literally the number of new home construction projects begun, were up in April, 2.2% higher than in March. Still way down, yes, from where they were in absolute terms this time last year. But the recent bump in housing construction and in construction permits issued too, I should say, by the way, and that does say a thing or two about this economy. Marketplace's Justin Ho starts us off.
Historically, around 11% of housing inventory has been new construction. But lately,
that share has increased to nearly 30% in recent months.
That's Odetta Kushi, Deputy Chief Economist at First American. She says a lot of current homeowners would rather hold on to their 2 or 3% mortgages rather than sell and buy a new house at today's higher rates. As a result, there's a shortage of existing homes.
Builders are responding to that shortage and picking up the pace in construction,
especially in the southern part of the U.S.
If you're talking about just sheer volume, more than half of home building occurs in the South.
That's Robert Dietz, Chief Economist at the National Association of Home Builders.
3 of the top 5 single-family home building markets are located in Texas. 3 of the top 10 are located in Florida.
Construction's also been picking up in the Mountain West, states like Utah, Nevada, and Idaho, where a lot of people moved early in the pandemic. Dietz says population growth in those states has slowed down more recently.
But the expectation is we will continue to see above-trend growth rates in those mountain states because they offer more affordable pathways to home ownership.
And compared to the West Coast and the Northeast, it's relatively easier to build homes in the Mountain West and the South, says Charlie Doherty, senior economist at Wells Fargo.
There's a little bit more land. It's less expensive. Building regulations are not quite as strict.
But Doherty says homebuilders still face plenty of challenges there. A lot of building materials are hard to come by, like electrical transformers. Skilled labor is in short supply, and land is getting more expensive.
With those sort of constraints, it makes it all the more challenging to profitably build at lower price points.
In other words, homebuilders will have to make more expensive homes for the cost of new construction to be worth it. I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
On Wall Street today, traders did seem inspired that the debt limit talks haven't collapsed. Take your wins where you get them, I guess. We'll have the details when we do the numbers. Kristen Schwab was telling us yesterday she tried to make sense of all the mixed economic messages that are out there right now about how customers are cutting back on big ticket items. Today, what retailers are doing to bring shoppers back to those non-essentials, new furniture perhaps, or TVs. Case in point, Target. It warned investors on its earnings call this morning that it's going to have to be offering more discounts to bump its sales. A retail strategy we're seeing a lot. Actually, Marketplace's Elizabeth Trovall is on that one.
When Flower Cifuentes went online to find the best price for a particular salt spray for her curly hair, she saw the product online at Ulta, and a $5 off promotion caught her eye.
I don't shop bougie Ulta, but I got the email with the discount, so guess where I went yesterday?
She went to an Ulta store in Houston to get her salt spray, and she ended up buying some mousse, too.
While I was there, I spent more than I wanted to because I bought another product too. But I only went because I had that coupon.
Retailers have increasingly been using discounts and promotions like this to encourage shoppers to keep spending, says Sonia Lipinski, a retail analyst with Alex Partners.
They're using them to lure them into the store in the hope that they can then upsell them on additional products that might not be at such a level of discount.
She says retailers who cater to middle and low income shoppers are especially leaning on discounts since those are the consumers inflation is hitting the hardest. That includes stores known for their discounts, like Walmart, that may have additional reasons for slashing prices, says Mintel retail analyst Diana Smith.
They are trying to get rid of some of their excess inventory to better position themselves for the future.
But Smith says too many discounts can be bad for business. It can hurt a store's image long term, and
it does eat into bottom line profits. And retailers are already challenged right now because they're having to deal with the higher costs as well.
At the same time, Claire Tassin at Morning Consult says customers return to shops that cut them a deal during hard times.
And they feel like the retailers maybe doing the right thing for them in that moment, and that can help to build consumer trust.
And she says if a store isn't offering discounts, it could be the perfect time for a competitor to drop in with a coupon and steal away a loyal customer. I'm Elizabeth Trovall for Marketplace.
Let's do the numbers. The Dow Industrial's up 408 points, 1.25%, 33,420 for the blue chips. The Nasdaq moved up 157 points, almost 1 3/10%, 12,500 on the nose. The S&P 500 added 48 points, about 1.2%, finished at 41.58 there. TJX Companies, owner of TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods, added 0.9% on better than expected earnings and sales in the first quarter. It also issued a disappointing outlook because capitalism. Macy's jumped 5 7/10% today. Ross Stores grew 0.8%. Casino and hotel operator Wynn Resorts rolled up 5 6/10% after an upgrade from Barclays, which cited potential post-pandemic gains and the strength of Wynn's businesses in Las Vegas. MGM Resorts lifted 2.5%. Justin Ho was telling us about home builders. Well, here they are. KB Home and D.R. Horton up each 0.4% today. Lennar added almost 0.6%. Bond prices fell. Yield on the 10-year T-notes 3.57%. You're listening to Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by Alteryx, an analytics cloud platform that enables all employees to make better data-driven decisions. Alteryx. We believe in analytics for all. Learn more at alteryx.com. And by Odoo, a full suite of integrated business management software dedicated to helping businesses of all sizes. Customizable and scalable software for billing, accounting, CRM, e-com, project, and inventory management. Odoo.com. And by Grammarly. Grammarly Business empowers companies to drive faster results with secure enterprise-grade generative artificial intelligence that works where teams do. It helps businesses break down information silos, collaborate efficiently, and quickly adapt to stay competitive. Grammarly.com/business.
Hey, this is Steve Inskeep with NPR News. Fighting misinformation can be tricky. We question people in power. We want to hear from people in power, but we want to deliver their statements in context, surrounded by facts, which is what you deserve. It takes resources to get it right, and we can't do that without your support. Help us by giving to this station. Thanks.
It does take resources to get it right. 888-376-9692. You can also go online to WNYC.org and click on donate. This is our spring pledge drive here at WNYC. This is how we raise the money to keep this whole thing going and continue to bring you programs like Marketplace or All Things Considered coming back your way at 7 o'clock, or Morning Edition with the Brian Lair Show, Allison Stewart with All of It, Fresh Air, The Takeaway. And I just listed the shows that are just on a weekday throughout the day. Think about all the things you get 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Literally, we are always on the air, and that is due to you and the contributions that you make to this station. Call now, contribute during the Spring Pledge Drive. Keep us on the air, 888-376-9692 or WNYC.org.
And Sean, we have 20 minutes left with our matching grant from the Tiger Barron Foundation. So whatever you donate right now in the next 20 minutes will be matched. So a $10 a month donation becomes a $20 a month donation. A $100 a month donation becomes a $200 a month donation. We don't care what you give. We just want you to make the call and become a member of WNYC. And for $10 a month, you can get the brand new umbrella that's just out. It's robin egg blue with a red WNYC logo. It's sharp and it works. I owned the original, the black umbrella with the WNYC logo for many years. I just recently broke it, sadly. Ooh. But these things last. I was impressed with how long it lasted. So give us a call and make that pledge right now, 888-376-9692.
My name's Andrea Kissick, and I am the Chief Science Editor at NPR. For a long time, climate change has been this abstract thing, but now here are the consequences. Droughts, flooding, record temperatures, bigger storms. They're being felt in our daily lives. The Science Desk is part of expanding and moving our climate change coverage forward. We can connect stories from one end of the country to the other. We can start telling stories that link different parts of the world, like what are cities doing to cope with and adapt to climate change. Wherever I've lived, I've been a member of my local station. I think it's part of just really placing value on what we do and being part of a community that is saying, this is our radio station and we support this content. Here's how you can support public radio. And thanks.
888-376-9692. You can also go online to WNYC.org, click on donate. That particular anecdote really struck me because I know you, Nancy, have worked at a number of public radio stations across the country, as I have. And one of the things that I've seen at all of them is, yes, the effects of climate change. It's the kind of thing that you kind of get a bird's eye view of. But also the idea that we're all part of a network and that the stories that you get on WNYC every day, especially like a program like All Things Considered or Morning Edition, they're from these member stations from all across the country. So you're getting this really varied and diverse array of news and information that really gives context to stories like climate change, which is affecting us all in all sorts of different ways. And it's really valuable to hear that perspective from other places. That's made possible by you, believe it or not. Every one of these stations is funded by folks in those communities giving what they can to keep their local station on the air. It's the same here. It's just a much bigger small town, but it still is a small town in that way. So call, contribute to your community public radio station right now, 888-376-9692. Again, it also goes twice as far right now. You can make that donation too at WNYC.org.
That's right. We only have 17 minutes left for you to get that matched donation from the Tiger Barron Foundation, a 1-for-1 match. You donate the money and they match it, and that doubles the amount that comes in our door. So that's the way to really move this goal along. Call 888-376-9692. Whether you appreciate the news or shows like Radiolab or the podcasts, or the fact that you can listen on demand, or listen on your phone and plug it into your car, all of that comes to you free because we're listener supported and our donors call and make the pledge. 888-376-9692.
This is Marketplace. The United Kingdom, with a smaller and less robust economy, just saw its public debt top 100% of its GDP. That is, they owe more than their entire economy is worth, as do we, by the way. But the statisticians over in the Royal Treasury have come up with a new and not uncontroversial way to measure its debt. It's called public sector net worth, and in a kind of presto-changeo way, it suggests the UK's public finances might not be in such bad shape after all. From London Marketplace's Stephen Beard reports.
The new statistics slashes the level of UK public indebtedness down from an eye-watering $3.1 trillion to a more reassuring $750 billion. How? Let Martin Wheatcroft of the Institute of Accountants explain. It's by offsetting against the debt a whole swathe of publicly owned assets.
So that includes the highway network, it includes the railway network, which is government-owned in the UK, schools, hospitals, other forms of infrastructure.
This seems to make sense. After all, this is the way corporate or individual solvency is assessed, with assets balanced against liabilities.
That gives you a much more comprehensive view of the public finances because you're looking at the wider balance sheet.
But there are some questions about this additional way of looking at the national debt. Surely offsetting assets against liabilities only makes sense if those assets can in practice be sold off to pay down the debt. That, says former Conservative politician and economist Warwick Lightfoot, could in some cases prove hugely difficult politically.
If you sell a road to an operator who has a concession to run a monopoly road, there'll be a lot of arguments over the costs of the tariffs and the charging that takes place.
Now, it's true that the UK pioneered the privatisation of state-owned assets in the 1980s, but there are many assets included in the new metric that would be very difficult to sell or to value accurately.
A school, if you can knock it down and build housing on it, may be worth £200 million, but if its present use is as a school, it's going to be worth a lot less than that.
A bigger worry is that the new metric, public sector net worth, by reducing the appearance of indebtedness, may entice governments into borrowing a lot more, not to invest in worthwhile infrastructure, but to splurge. Carl Emerson of the Institute of Fiscal Studies.
If it leads governments to just think, oh, our position's healthier anyway, look at this new measure, it tells us everything's much, much better, we can just borrow more money, then I think it is much more questionable.
But supporters of the metric say governments will behave. British politicians learned a resounding lesson from the short-lived administration of Liz Truss last year. She tried to borrow to pay for tax cuts and swiftly came unstuck.
I want to be honest. This is difficult.
Her mini-budget caused meltdown in the bond market, and within days she paid the price.
I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
The bond vigilantes are alive and well and watching UK government borrowing and spending like a hawk, regardless of the public sector net worth. In London, I'm Stephen Beard for Marketplace.
AARP says about 1 in 10 adults 50 or older live alone and don't have significant others or children. Loneliness and running out of money are among their top concerns. And as the baby boomers age, the number of older Americans living alone is going up. And that is the setup for the next installment of our series, Adventures in Housing.
My name is Jane Ehrlich. I am a writer and business owner, and I am working on a startup that I've been working on for 12 years called Boomer Roomers. The story probably started in the late 50s when I was a child. We would go outside in the summer. I grew up in the Bronx, middle-class neighborhood, and we would see rows of grannies mostly in deck chairs just sitting outside the apartment buildings. They all lived with their children. Previous to my generation, people lived at home until they were married. If they were lucky enough to go to college, they lived at home during college. My generation was the first generation that had the freedom to leave the nest, as it were. I saw people moving away from their families. I saw people getting married. I saw people getting divorced. And I really became aware of the issue of people living alone. My late parents were in New York. I lived in California for 14 years. It was really hard for them. It wasn't that hard for me. I could visit them, talk to them, but it was very difficult. When I had lost both my parents, I realized how am I going to age? How are my friends going to age? And we started talking about it. And it kind of just became more of a cohesive plan for this website. The concept of Boomer Roomers was to match people by their housing choices and their lifestyle. So you will say, gee, I'm a boomer and I would like to move to New York City, but I'd like to live in a condo, share a condo space with another boomer in New York City, and here are my lifestyle questions. I snore, I don't snore, Beatles, I'm a Rolling Stones person, I only listen to opera, I hate music. We have always thought that Boomer Roomers could share a home health aide, an electrician, a driver to take them to medical appointments, but it's pooling resources to create a happy living experience in which people who are living alone longer can age in place with another person. That is the first priority. Second priority, I wanted to create a community. I wanted to be a housing site with that potential for people meeting friends. I think it would help me enormously. I feel very lonely sometimes. I'm far away from my friends. And at the end of the day, I want to go dancing.
That was Jane Ehrlich, dancing when she can, working on her startup as well. It's called Boomer Roomers in southwestern Connecticut. You can tell us about your adventure in housing. We'd love it if you did at marketplace.org. This final note on the way out today, in which, well, look, I'm just going to tell you and you decide. Uber announced today that you can get an Uber without using the app. You apparently just call them using the phone part of your phone. You can book it on demand or you can schedule it for later, which, and maybe I'm missing something here, but doesn't that just make it a taxi cab?
Marketplace is supported by Progressive. Progressive Commercial Insurance offers personalized rates and customizable coverages for your business vehicles. More at progressivecommercial.com. And by Domo, the data experience platform innovator that puts data to work for everyone so they can multiply their impact on the business. More at domo.com.
All right, we got to go. Here, though, is your moment of economic context. It's some new data from the Census Bureau. Census has a new survey it developed during the pandemic, just kind of keeping track of how we're doing financially. And the answer is not great. 38.5% of households in its most recent survey, which was late last month into early May, 38.5% said they faced difficulty paying for usual household expenses. That's up from 34% a year ago and almost 27% in 2021. It's more than 89 million people when you add it all up. Our media production team, Brian Allison, Jake Cherry, Drew Jostad, Gary O'Keefe, Jeff Peters, Charlton Thorpe, Juan Carlos Torrado, and Becca Weinman. I'm Kai Ryssdal. We will see you tomorrow, everybody. This is 8 p.m.